Have you ever wondered why, despite eating healthy and staying active, you still wake up 2 or 3 times every night to urinate as if your body's internal clock is suddenly working against you? And what's really happening during those final hours of the day that you may not even notice? I'm Dr. James, a men's health specialist with over 3 decades of clinical experience, and what I'm about to share might completely change the way you view your nightly routine. Many people believe that aging is the sole reason behind interrupted sleep, constant bladder urges, or that dull pressure in the lower abdomen. But the truth runs deeper. The prostate, though a small gland, plays an enormous role in a man's physical and emotional stability. When it becomes irritated, it doesn't just interrupt your sleep, it slowly drains your energy, undermines your body's ability to heal, and leaves you mentally exhausted. You wake up groggy, unfocused, often unsure why, but these issues are not just a normal part of getting older. In fact, they're often the result of seemingly harmless bedtime habits, daily actions that repeat every night without you realizing they're gradually undermining your prostate health. I've seen countless men walk into my clinic expecting complex medications to solve the problem, only to discover that the real breakthrough came from simple changes to their evening routine. And the best part is, you can start turning things around tonight. No complicated treatments, no expensive procedures, just a clear understanding of what truly supports your body and what secretly works against it. From what you eat in the evening, to your choice of drinks, the kind of light exposure you get, and even your last thoughts before bed, these small factors could either be healing your prostate or aggravating it, night after night. In this video, I'll reveal 5 common bedtime habits that many men over 60 still follow, and how just a few simple changes can dramatically improve your sleep, reduce nighttime urination, and help you reclaim your energy and confidence. The surprising part, one of the most damaging habits is actually something many people think is healthy, but tonight, you'll learn the truth. Before we dive into the details, if you're serious about improving your prostate health and getting the deep, uninterrupted sleep your body deserves, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Each week I share practical, science-based health advice tailored specifically for men over 60. And if you're still with me right now, drop a 1 in the comments so I know you're following. If you feel this message could be better, type 0 and let me know how I can support your journey to lasting health. Alright, let's start with the very first bedtime habit, a habit that seems harmless, even relaxing. But in reality, it's putting your prostate under constant pressure and robbing your body of the deep recovery it truly needs. 1. Let me ask you something. What if the biggest reason you're still waking up at 2 a.m. groggy, irritated, and making that same tired walk to the bathroom isn't because of aging, but because of a glass of water you drank too late? It may sound too simple to be true, but time after time, men walk into my clinic with the same complaint. Doc, I'm doing everything right. I eat healthy, I stay active, and I drink lots of water, but I still wake up 3 or 4 times every night to urinate. I never feel truly rested, and every time, I ask them one question: when are you drinking all that water? Hydration is absolutely essential, especially as we age. Our cells need it to heal, our organs need it to function. Even the prostate benefits from healthy hydration. Buttoned, this is where most men get blindsided. Timing matters far more than you think. When you drink water, herbal tea, or even take medications with a full glass of liquid too close to bedtime, you're silently activating your bladder right when your body is supposed to be slowing down, resetting and recovering. This becomes even more problematic if you're over 60, when prostate enlargement becomes almost inevitable. At that point, your bladder is already under more pressure than it used to be. Add a surge of fluid just an hour or 2 before bed, and you've just triggered a chain reaction. Urgency, interrupted sleep, hormonal imbalance, and a lack of deep physiological recovery. Sleep isn't just about feeling rested, it's the time when testosterone is rebalanced, inflammation is reduced, and tissues including the prostate have their best chance to repair. When you constantly interrupt that cycle, your body doesn't just get tired, it gets inflamed, sluggish, and slowly worn down. What breaks my heart is that most men think they're doing the right thing. A warm cup of tea to wind down, a late-night glass of water to stay hydrated. But what they don't realize is that their body isn't healing, it's reacting. It's being pulled into overdrive just when it needs stillness. And when they wake up the next morning, they're more tired than the night before, achy, foggy, and even more irritated in the lower abdomen or pelvis. If that sounds like your reality, I want to offer you something you can try starting tonight. Keep hydrating during the day. In fact, drink more in the morning and early afternoon if you can. But as the day winds down, start tapering off. Set a mental hydration cutoff around 6 p.m. and aim to avoid any beverages, yes, even that calming last cup, for at least 2 hours before bed. Now, I understand some of you may need to take medications that require fluids late at night. That's okay. Just have a conversation with your doctor about whether those doses can be adjusted or rescheduled. You'd be amazed how many of my patients experienced a breakthrough simply by changing this one routine. Fewer bathroom trips, longer sleep cycles, and for the first time in years they began waking up feeling younger. One man in his early 70s told me I thought waking up 4 times a night was just part of life now. I never imagined something this simple could make me feel 20 years younger in the morning. But this is only the beginning, because even if you get your hydration timing right, there's another habit many men hold on to every night, one that seems harmless, even comforting, but may be silently cutting off circulation to the prostate and worsening inflammation. It's something most of us do without thinking, and it might be the hidden reason why, despite all your efforts, your nights still feel broken and your body remains stuck in a cycle of fatigue and discomfort. Let's talk about that next. 2. What if the glowing screen in front of you, the one that feels like comfort at the end of a long day, is quietly stealing your sleep and sabotaging your prostate health, night after night? That question often surprises the men I work with, and yet the pattern is remarkably consistent. After improving their hydration schedule, many still report waking up groggy, unrested, and with that familiar discomfort in the lower abdomen. So I asked them, what do your evenings look like right before bed? One patient I'll never forget is Harold, a 68-year-old retired firefighter. He told me, "Doc, every night after dinner, I climb into bed, turn on the news, and let the TV run until I fall asleep." At first glance it seems harmless and calming, but Harold, like so many others, didn't realize that his nightly screen habit was silently draining his energy, disrupting his hormonal rhythms, and gradually worsening his prostate symptoms over time. Here's what's actually happening inside your body during those quiet minutes in bed, with the TV on or the phone in your hand. When you lie still, especially after a long day, blood flow to your lower abdomen naturally slows down. It's subtle, but for the prostate, an organ that relies heavily on circulation to receive healing, oxygen and nutrients, this drop in flow can mean delayed repair and amplified inflammation. The body's ability to heal isn't just about rest, it's about movement, flow, and biological rhythm. Now layer in the effects of blue light, the kind emitted from your television, phone or tablet. This light tells your brain to stay alert. It blocks melatonin, the hormone that gently guides you into deep, restful sleep. Without enough melatonin, you drift into shallow rest light, fragmented and insufficient for full body repair. And here's what many men don't know. The deepest stages of sleep are when your body does its most powerful healing, when testosterone regulation happens, when inflammation is lowered, and when tissues like the prostate finally get a break. I remember asking Harold a simple but telling question. Do you often feel relaxed when you fall asleep, but wake up hours later feeling like you didn't sleep at all? He paused, looked at the floor and said, every night. That moment was a turning point, because the truth is, what feels like relaxation zoning out to a screen's actually overstimulating your nervous system. It keeps your mind wired, throws off your hormonal clock, and places your prostate in a constant state of low-grade stress. And most men have no idea it's happening. The good news, this is one of the easiest habits to fix. Start by choosing a screen-off time somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Replace that artificial light with something gentler. Try reading a real book, listen to soft music, or simply sit quietly and allow your body to transition into rest. Within days, your nervous system will recalibrate, melatonin will rise naturally, sleep will deepen, and many men find they wake up less during the night, with fewer urges and a calmer body overall. That's exactly what happened to Harold 2 weeks after changing just this one habit. He walked back into my clinic with a smile and said, "Doc, I'm sleeping like I haven't in years. For the first time in a long time, I'm not dreading bedtime." But let me leave you with a new question to consider. What if the problem isn't what you're seeing or hearing before bed, but something physical, something that presses deep into your lower body all night long without you noticing? There's one habit many men never question, and yet it may be placing direct, persistent pressure on the prostate while you sleep. You won't even feel it happening until the damage is done. Let me show you exactly what I mean. 3. What if the one thing quietly putting pressure on your prostate every night isn't your bladder, or even what you're drinking, but something deeper, slower, and far more overlooked, like unaddressed constipation? It's not a glamorous topic, I get it. Most men don't exactly jump at the chance to talk about their bowel movements. It's often dismissed with a shrug, it'll sort itself out tomorrow. But as a doctor who's spent decades working with older men, I can tell you, constipation is one of the most overlooked reasons why your nights are broken, your sleep disrupted, and your prostate symptoms worsening. I had a patient named Michael, a 71-year-old gentleman who came into my clinic exhausted and frustrated. He told me he was waking up 5 or 6 times a night, bloated, restless, and increasingly uncomfortable. We tried everything, adjusted medications, experimented with supplements, ruled out infections, but nothing worked. That is, until I asked him one simple question. How often do you have a full bowel movement? He paused, exhaled, and said, "Honestly, doc, not regularly. I just figured that's part of aging, but it's not." What Michael didn't realize, and what many men don't, is that when your lower intestines aren't properly cleared, it creates a backlog of physical pressure in your lower abdomen. And sitting right in the middle of that pressure zone, your prostate. A distended colon presses against the bladder and prostate, reducing space for expansion and creating a constant sense of urgency. even when there's little to eliminate. Worse still, blood flow to the pelvic region becomes restricted. Less circulation means less oxygen, slower tissue healing, and an inflammatory environment where the prostate can't rest, let alone recover. Even low-grade, chronic constipation can have this effect night after night. And let's not forget the mind-body link. If you're carrying around unrelieved pressure and bloating, you're more likely to experience restlessness, tension, and fragmented sleep. The nervous system stays mildly activated. Your body can't fully shift into recovery mode. So you wake up exhausted not because you didn't sleep long enough, but because your body was never truly at ease. Thankfully, for Michael, once we shifted focus, things changed dramatically. We prioritized gentle digestive support, fiber-rich foods like leafy greens, kiwi, prunes, and whole grains, dehydrated earlier in the day, added a short evening walk, and introduced magnesium before bed. 2 weeks later, he returned to my office and said, "I didn't realize how heavy I felt until the pressure was finally gone." And that's exactly it. Clearing your system before bed isn't just about digestion, it's about creating space for the rest of your body to breathe, repair, and reset. Less pressure means less bladder stimulation, reduced inflammation, and a prostate that's no longer under constant strain now. Even if you're already having regular bowel movements, there's still one small bedtime decision that most men forget, something that only takes a minute, yet skipping it can rob your body of a full night's rest. It's one of the simplest fixes I've ever recommended, and yet it's ignored by nearly every man I speak with. Let's talk about that next. What if the one habit quietly wrecking your sleep, stressing your prostate, and triggering nighttime urgency is something so small, so ordinary you skip it without even thinking? That's the surprising reality for many of my older male patients, and it's something I see far more often than you might imagine. You've made the right moves. You're hydrating earlier, reducing screen time, staying regular with your digestion. But then just before bed you skip one last simple step, going to the bathroom. It sounds minor. After all, if you don't feel the need to go, why force it, right? But here's the thing, ignoring this step could be the silent trigger behind restless nights, overactive bladder signals, and even long-term prostate strain. Let me share the story of Leonard R. Sharp, energetic 74-year-old who was doing almost everything right. Still, night after night, he woke up 2 or 3 times like clockwork. We ruled out infections, adjusted medications, and explored bladder support supplements. Nothing worked. Eventually, I asked him directly, "Do you urinate before bed, even if you don't feel the urge?" He laughed and said, "Doc, why would I go if I don't need to?" But that's exactly the point. As we age, the bladder becomes less efficient at emptying fully, especially when the prostate is slightly enlarged. Even a small amount of leftover urine can press against the bladder wall, sending mild but persistent signals to the brain all night long. Wake up, you need to go. And in many cases, the bladder isn't even close to full, but your nervous system doesn't know that. There's more. Stagnant urine left in the bladder overnight creates a warm, still environment, perfect breeding ground for bacteria. That increases your risk of urinary tract infections, irritation, and inflammation issues that can spiral over time into much bigger problems. So while skipping the bathroom may save you 2 minutes at night, it could cost you hours of sleep and weeks of recovery. Leonard decided to take my advice. He built a simple, quiet ritual into his bedtime routine. 10 minutes before sleep, he'd sit down in the bathroom, breathe deeply, relax, and give his body the space to empty completely. No rushing, no multitasking, just presence. And a few weeks later, he returned and told me, "I had no idea something so small could make such a difference. I'm sleeping like I did 10 years ago." That's the beauty of healing. It often begins with the smallest shifts. By giving your body the chance to release what it doesn't need, you create space for everything else to calm down. Your bladder rests, your prostate relaxes, and your nervous system finally gets the signal. It's safe to sleep. This isn't just about the physical, it's emotional too. There's something incredibly grounding about closing the day with intention. Not rushing, not resisting, but giving your body permission to reset. That small act of presence changes the way your night unfolds now. Even if you've got all these habits lined up, hydrating earlier, limiting screen exposure, staying regular, and emptying your bladder, there's still one trap left. One that most men never suspect. It hides in your evening snacks, comforting, familiar, but quietly agitating your system in ways you don't expect. Let me show you exactly what I mean. 5. Let me ask you something. Could that small salty snack you reach for every night, the one that feels like a comforting reward, be the silent reason you keep waking up with prostate discomfort and the urge to rush to the bathroom? For many older men, the evening brings a familiar pattern. The TV is on, the house is quiet, and there's that one bowl of chips, a few crackers, maybe a slice of cured sausage to wind down. It seems harmless. It even feels emotionally soothing. But night after night, those salty snacks may be doing more than comforting your taste buds. They could be quietly fueling inflammation, fluid retention, and increased nighttime urination. I remember a patient named Carl, a retired mechanic in his late 60s who had been struggling with broken sleep for over a year. He was doing so many things right. No caffeine late in the day, early hydration, light exercise, and even stress reduction before bed. But his prostate symptoms just wouldn't improve. When I asked what his evening routine looked like, he shrugged and said, "Just a little snack. Something salty, it helps me relax." That's when we found the hidden trigger: high-sodium snacks. Processed, savory ones cause your body to retain water. And that excess water doesn't just disappear. It gets stored in tissues, increases pelvic pressure, and stimulates the bladder. Even if you drank no fluids in the hours before bed, your body's response to salt can still lead to more urgency, more pressure on the prostate, and more sleep interruptions. But the trouble doesn't stop there. Elevated sodium intake can raise blood pressure, which in turn reduces blood flow to the lower abdomen. And the prostate, like any other organ, relies on a consistent supply of oxygen-rich blood to recover and remain stable. Without it, inflammation becomes more likely, healing slows, and even a mildly enlarged prostate can become reactive, swollen, and overactive during the night. Carl was genuinely surprised. "I always thought eating made me sleepy," he told me, "and emotionally. That's not wrong. Comfort foods can trigger a release of serotonin and help us feel more relaxed." But physiologically, his body was working overtime, filtering salt, retaining fluid, maintaining balance, and keeping his bladder under constant stress. We made a small change. Carl swapped his processed salty snacks for unsalted pumpkin seeds, a banana, or occasionally a small bowl of plain yogurt. Each option was light, anti-inflammatory, and easy for the body to handle before sleep. Within 2 weeks he returned and smiled. "Same chair, same show, but now I'm sleeping through the night." It's a reminder that what we put into our bodies matters just as much as how we care for them afterward. These little choices, what we snack on, when we hydrate, whether we empty the bladder, aren't small at all. They either support your healing process or quietly work against it. So if you've done everything else right, adjusted your hydration, turned off the screens, stayed regular, and made that last bathroom trip, but you're still waking up at night, this might be the piece you're missing. Take a look at your nighttime snacks. Is your comfort food actually creating discomfort? If so, a few mindful swaps could give your body what it really needs: the stillness, support, and rest it's been waiting for. So let's bring it all together, not with pressure, but with purpose. You've made it this far, and that already tells me something powerful. You care not just about information, but about transformation. We've covered the hidden nightly habits that quietly disrupt prostate health: late hydration, screen time, unaddressed constipation, skipping that final bathroom visit, and reaching for salty comfort foods. These aren't massive medical events, they're simple moments, but they carry weight, and together they either push your body toward restoration or leave it in a cycle of stress. The good news: you don't need to change everything overnight. In fact, the most meaningful healing starts with one step, one shift, one conscious choice before bed that tells your body you're safe now, you can rest. What I've seen, time and again, is that when men become aware and then act, even in small ways, real recovery begins. Mornings become clearer, nights become calmer, and that silent frustration that often surrounds prostate issues starts to fade. Remember, healing isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. Your body doesn't expect you to be flawless. It simply needs you to be present, to notice, to care just enough to shift one habit at a time in the right direction. And if something from today resonated with you, if a moment made you stop and reflect, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts or your experience in the comments below. You might be surprised how many other men feel the same but have never spoken up. Your words could help someone else finally feel seen. If you haven't already, I'd gently invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and maybe tap the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Not because you have to, but because this journey, it's one we walk better together. Your next night can be better than the last, and your body is already listening. Let's keep going.